Good morning, Year 7. Today we are going to be doing bearings. This is not normally part of the Year 7 coursework, but it is something that you need to know in Years 9 and 10 in particular, and it's often a concept that's tricky to grasp. So we thought we have a bit of extra time in Year 7. It would be good to introduce this to you so that you can start learning about this tricky idea now. So we're learning about bearings, like I said. A bearing measures the direction of one object from another. There are two systems that we use for describing bearings. The first system that you're going to learn about is called true bearings. These are measured in a clockwise direction from the starting north point. They are written using 3 digits. The second is a compass bearing that are measured relative to the north or the south, and then relative to the east or the west. Now, I know that sounds a little bit confusing to start with, but I'm going to show you a little demonstration to hopefully help with this. So here is a little online demonstration. What I can do is I can slide this around to move the angles around the compass. So I'm starting with the true bearing, and you can see that when I bring the arm right up to the top, if it's right at the very top, that is 0. That's your starting 0 angle, 0 direction for a true bearing. Now, as I move it over, we always measure it going around in a clockwise direction. And you can see the angle that's measured in there is 65 degrees. So that would be a true bearing. You can see it over here on the side of 065 degrees. T stands for true bearing. And if I keep making that angle bigger, it's always the angle, the green one that's shown in here, that's measured from the north around to the direction that I want to go. So this one's 160 degrees. This one's, don't worry about the 85, we want the whole big angle, the 275, all the way around from the north, which is the true bearing. Okay, so that's a true bearing from the north. How far around from the north do we go in a clockwise direction? But if I change this, and we now want to look at a compass bearing. So the compass bearing, you either want to start with whichever one is closer, either the north or the south pole. So where I currently have my little line here, it is closer to the north pole. And the angle that I've made is 20 degrees, and it's headed slightly towards the east. So we write that as north 20 degrees towards the east. Okay, let's move it down a little bit. When I'm down here, you can see that the angle has moved down to the south. I don't ever want the angle to the east. It's either the north or the south. So this one's going down towards the south. And it's a 65 degree angle towards the east. So you can see the answer here, south 65 degrees east. Let's move it around over here. This one is still the angle to the south is 60. So south 60 degrees, this time we're headed towards the west. And one more, we're back up heading north again, and the angle from the north is 25. So it's north 25 degrees towards the west. Okay, so we are going to practice drawing some true bearings now. So we want to draw 035 degrees T. To do this, you always want to start by drawing yourself a vertical and horizontal line like that, that represents our compass. Now, if you wanted to, you could do like the north is here, south, east, west, but we don't usually want to take that much time to do that much detail. We just need the lines, and we need to know that they're pointing vertically upwards. That's going to be our north line. From that north line, we want an angle of 35 degrees. This does not need to be measured. We're not using protractors here. We just want approximately. So I'm going to just approximate here. I think 35 degrees is about there. So from the center of my compass, I think that that angle in there would be 35 degrees. And so that is how we would show the true bearing of 035 degrees T. Let's try another one. 240 degrees T. So again, I'm going to draw my compass to get me started. We start from the top, which is north, and I want to go around in a clockwise direction 240 degrees. So if 0 is at the top, it would be 90 here, 180 down the bottom, and 270 here on going towards the left. So that means between 180 and 270, somewhere between there and there is where the 240 would be. I think it's slightly more towards the 270 than the 180. So let's put it heading out in this direction. Remember I said it's not measured, it just needs to be in the right quadrant of the compass, approximately the right direction. So heading out that way, and that angle all the way around there would be 240 degrees. Okay, in question 2, we are now switching to a compass bearing, which remember will always start with either a north or a south pole. So this first one, just like before, I'm going to start by drawing a little compass. And this one starts by going south 25 degrees towards the east. So south is down here and east is towards the right. So south, starting from the south line, I want to move my ruler around about 25 degrees, which I think is approximately about there, towards the east side. So this angle in here would be 25, which is south 25 degrees towards east. That's it. Part B, start by drawing a compass. This time we want to do north, so start with the north, 30 degrees towards the west. So the angle always has to be attached to the vertical line. So we want to go 30 degrees, which can be about there. And we're going to go draw that in there. That angle's 30 degrees, so that would be north 30 degrees towards the west. Okay, question 3. Change the compass bearing into a true bearing. So if I have something that's north 35 degrees west, you could draw a little picture of it to help you visualize what's going on. North here, 35 degrees would be something in there towards the west. Okay, but to change that into a true bearing, I want to start from this north line and find the angle all the way around to there. Now, because the whole way around would be 360 degrees, if I just subtract off the 35 that I don't want, that would give me the answer. So it would be 360 minus the 35 means that my true bearing is 325 degrees. And because it's a true bearing, we put a capital T at the end for true bearing. Part B, we want south. So let's draw it. We want south 5 degrees towards the west. So that would be south going down. 5 degrees would be a very small angle in here. So that little tiny angle would be 5 degrees towards the west. For a true bearing, we always start from the north and we want to go from here around to that line. Now remember that this is 90, this is 180, so I'm just going 5 degrees further than the 180. So to find that true bearing, I'm just going to start with 180, add on the extra 5, and it would be 185 degrees true. Question 4. For the diagram shown, give the bearing of A from O. Now, if I'm from O, it means I'm at O. So I'm here in the center of this compass at O, and I want the bearing to go to the A, which is down here. So when I'm standing here, my compass bearing would my true bearing, would be from the north around that line, which is just the 150 degrees. What's trickier though is doing part B. This says I want the bearing of O from A. This means that A is my starting point and I need a compass down here. So I'm going to draw a compass at A And if I'm standing here at A, I need to know what direction do I need to go back to O. So I need that angle all the way around there. Now, we need to do some parallel line angles rules in here. If we have 150 in here, this is a straight line. That means that if I did 180 minus the 150, that angle in there would be 30. I'll write that in a better pen because that one's a bit blurry. 30 degrees. Okay, now compasses, the north would be parallel with the north, so they are parallel lines, and you can see that I'm making a Z shape on these parallel lines. So the 30 degrees here, I could move to be 30 degrees in there. So that means if I want to find this red angle all the way around, 360 is all the way, I just subtract off the 30 that I don't want. So I will do 360 minus the 30 that I don't want, means that the bearing from O back to A would be 330 degrees T. Okay, so to practice that a little bit, we have pages 49 and 50 of your workbook.